And news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and so are 57 Texas Democrats, thanks to Governor Jelly Belly. Of course, welcoming them to abdicate and seek safe refuge in Illinois. These Texas Democrats that don't want to participate in a special session in the state legislature down in Austin because of the proposed redistricting that would have the possibility of adding maybe as many as 5 Republican congresswomen to that state's congressional delegation. Can't have that. Brought out the big guns. Jasmine Crockett testifying on the bill, on the proposed map, before a House committee. Giving the sort of usual dizzying arguments. At the same time, she's wants majority-minority districts. She also is criticizing Republicans for packing a majority of minorities in the majority-minority districts that she wants to make sure that she gets, more likely than not, the minority fellow travelers that she needs and the party needs writ large nationally. So this is another opportunity for Jelly Belly to engage in demagoguery on the national stage, much like Cory Booker talking to an empty Senate chamber. You know, whoever is the most recklessly hysterical rhetorically in the direction of Trump wins. That seems to be the race that's on at present. And so this was Pritzker's latest contribution.
All bets are off when the cult leader and, would-be dictator of the United States tells Texas to midstream change the game when they know that they're going to lose in 2026.
Cult leader, would-be dictator, all bets are off, the name calling and the big tough talk. You have to come through me, the same rap. I'd love to briefly crawl into mind of someone who listens to Pritzker and says, yeah, that's one tough hombre. That's a guy that's making sense. That's a guy who's protecting our republic. Just briefly. See what the wiring looks like. Scott McKay is the publisher of the Hayride, senior editor at the American Spectator, and author of Racism, Revenge, and Ruin, and From Hellmarsh with Love, a Mike Holman novel. Scott McKay, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan.
So, I should add that Governor Pritzker was not the only one offering moral instruction on the topic. The House Minority Leader for State House Democrats in Texas, the good Representative Gene Wu, had these things to say.
We come here today with absolute moral clarity that this is absolutely the right thing to do to protect the people of the state of Texas. The tool they're using is a racist, gerrymandered map. A map that seeks to use racial lines to divide hard-working communities who have spent decades building up their power and strengthening their voices. And Governor Abbott is doing this in submission to Donald Trump.
Race-based gerrymandering. Have you ever heard of such a thing, Scott?
Well, we have a district that was created along the same lines here in Louisiana that is about to get blown away by the Supreme Court. So I don't think Gene Wu is saying anything that the rest of the country isn't perfectly aware of. It's just that most of us don't agree with Gene Wu is all. And I don't think people in Texas agree with him. I think most people will hear that Jasmine Crockett probably gets put out of Congress with this map, which makes it an 80-20 issue for the whole country. But the problem is there's no novelty in what the Texas Democrats are doing. Like, they did this, 3 years ago? At that point, they fled to D.C. You had this sort of dramatic situation where arrest warrants went out for them,
right.
which legally you can do. It was a lot of political theater. My suggestion is, rather than do arrest warrants, redistrict the Texas state legislature. Let's see if they'll come home from Chicago then. Right? We're not just going to do Congress. We're going to do your seat.
Well,
and let's see if these guys will come home and fight.
Oh, I saw it reported, although I haven't dug into it, that Abbott thinks that he may have the power to replace them and appoint replacements, take them out of their seats and appoint replacements if they abdicate their positions for some period of time. Like the 2-week special session that they're apparently planning on boycotting.
Yeah, I don't know what Texas law is, but if there's anything that allows you, that power, you'd be crazy not to use it, because at this point now that what's the old joke? If you can do it twice, it's not luck. The fact that they've picked up and left tells you they're going to do that every time you want to do Republican things in that legislature.
Well,
so you might as well up the ante okay, you guys want to leave? We'll replace you. And now we've taken that tactic off the table.
Yeah, I had almost forgotten. Of course, I remembered Illinois is a destination for flea-bagging legislators from around the country. So we had Wisconsin under Walker with the budget repair bill. You remember that? I had forgotten that. Before that, we had Indiana legislators who fled to Champaign-Urbana to try to prevent Mitch Daniels going back a bit now, try to prevent Mitch Daniels from passing right to work in Indiana. And now Texas is visiting our fair state to hide from redistricting, hide from a discussion about redistricted maps. It also just speaks to a certain mentality. I mean, like when you have 3 different legislatures, and as you say, this is not the first time Texas has done this. That use that same sort of tactic. What does that say about that party?
Well, one thing is they probably shouldn't be calling themselves Democrats anymore, because there's very little democracy in anything that they do. I mean, it's for several years until they lost the 2024 election. And even after, they kept going on about our democracy, Dan. I mean, I know you've heard that.
Yeah.
And it turns out that our democracy is like nothing like democracy at all, right? It's ruled by bureaucrats and NGOs. There's no accountability to any of it. Apparently, you can execute a coup against the democratically elected president, and nobody is supposed to be held accountable for any of that. I mean, our democracy is what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had in store for America, and we rejected it. And it looks like we're continuing to reject it. If you take a look at the approval ratings of Democrats, there's a very anti-democratic party because they don't fare well when you find out what they want to do, which is to trans your kid and defund the police. And do all the things that Mamdani is trying to do in New York, or that Brandon Johnson is doing in Chicago. And what's his approval rating now? Like 6 or 7%? I mean, nobody actually wants any of the things these guys want to do, and yet they're still calling themselves Democrats. And I'm thinking it's probably time for a change.
The Russiagate reckoning at this stage, including the report that the Office of Special Counsel has launched a formal investigation into Jack Smith, the first official legal probe of Jack Smith's conduct. So, I mean, that's not Russiagate exactly, but it's certainly folded into the larger fifth column action against the President of the United States. What is what's your handle on how this is going? This is we keep taking everybody's temperature, including my own. How optimistic are you that there'll be something resembling justice visited upon somebody at least somebody who is long overdue for such a visit?
Well, what I don't know, and it probably depends on the defendant, is whether you can try any of these people in a venue outside of Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you're stuck in D.C. trying these guys, the chances of getting a conviction are minuscule. In fact, I'm not even sure that your prosecutors who try these people in D.C. won't get disbarred based on the way they're now jury rigging the bar in Washington. I mean, that's how corrupt it is. If you're Trump associated, they want to try to disbar you in D.C. so that you can't practice law there. Getting a conviction, like we already saw with what was the guy's name, Mark Sussman, that you can have somebody absolutely dead to rights and the jury still won't find them guilty. But if you can get these people in a venue outside of Washington, D.C., I think probably will get convictions on something for the simple reason that they're documented as guilty in conspiring basically to stage a coup against Trump with Russiagate. I mean, it's hard to argue that these guys didn't do what they're accused of doing. We all know they did. In fact, more often than not, what you hear is that it's justified to have done this rather than it wasn't done because, you just can't make that argument anymore. So, can they get Obama? Can they get Hillary Clinton? My guess is probably not, but I would not be particularly sanguine about my future if I was Comey or Clapper or Brennan or Susan Rice or some of these other people. And if you'll notice, those are the loud ones now who are, using flowery rhetoric about how, the fascism is descending upon the United States, right? And it's like, yeah, okay, well, I can see your psychological drama playing out inside your head. It's not inside your head anymore. But, I don't know if you want sympathy from us or not after what you put us through. So I think there will be some accountability, but I would caution that the big ticket items that everybody would love to see, which is, Barack Obama get frog marched in the courthouse. You're not going to get that. What you may very well end up with is a civil suit against Obama. And at that point, you can kind of take the process is the punishment attitude toward this because, it tends to be pretty expensive to defend a lawsuit when somebody files one on you.
I'd like to also just see them sort of start turning on each other. Tulsi Gabbard mentioned whistleblowers coming forward in a recent interview, which doesn't surprise me. What level of information they have, obviously I don't know, but it's a den of thieves, and if it breaks, and if one or two feel like they may be going down, they may want to try to trade up or out, or at least bring some people down with them. I don't know.
Yeah, there's the upward cascade when you're trying to break up a criminal organization, and I think there will be some of that. My guess is John Brennan is the guy who's going to really be the victim of this, and well, I don't even want to say victim because victim implies we should have sympathy for him.
Right.
I think that some of the underlings in the CIA who were forced to really, really warp their process by him, I think there may be a little bit of professional pride and probably a good bit of CYA once this thing starts, you start finding out who was actually writing these things at Brennan's request, and that guy says, I'm not going to do 5 to 10 for you. At that point, you start getting into a situation where even if you have to do this in D.C., like it looks like something where this guy's going to cut a deal and save you the process of trying to try him just so he can get off with 6 months in stir somewhere. And that may be, like at least you got to say that this guy was a convicted felon, even though you couldn't put him away for the rest of his life. And we'll see. I mean, it's just, it's hard to have really high expectations, but I don't think there's much question that all of this is going to be laid bare in front of history, and we're going to know what exactly happened with Russiagate.
Scott McKay, publisher of the Hayride, senior editor of the American Spectator, and author of Racism, Revenge, and Ruin, as well as From Hellmarsh with Love, a Mike Holman novel. Scott McKay, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
See you soon, Dan.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Why don't we do one of those one-day bathroom remodels?
Well, because I don't want a generic bathroom that looks like it belongs at a campsite.
Fair. I'd love something that fits us. A bigger shower, safety grab